Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dateline Downtown's Friday News Roundup podcast. I'm your host, Ted Shull, and I'm here with my co-host, Joshua Burgman.
Hello. And welcome back from spring break.
Definitely. We want to say welcome back to every student and faculty member. Welcome back from spring break. Hope you all are in the mood to get back to school. Big news that we want to talk about today. Graduation date for seniors, May 2015, was changed the week before spring break started. And it was never really released, the reason why the administration changed it back.
Yeah.
But we speculate that the class put so much media pressure on the administration that there was no other alternative.
It was actually changed back the weekend of the weekend of spring break because
it was Saturday.
Yeah, because we did the podcast with the Locke administration and Tara Taylor and Trinity, right? We did it on Friday, and they were very adamant about getting the date changed back, and of course they made real headway. We didn't get to release the podcast because they were making so much headway that we didn't want to harm any of the proceedings. But it was clear during the podcast that that they were fired up and they were ready to get their graduation date changed back, and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, we recorded about a 45-minute podcast with Trinity Baldwin and Tara Taylor and John Locke, and it was very emotional. A lot of families wouldn't have been able to attend, have to take extra days off of work to attend because it's Memorial Day weekend, and that was the administration's excuse for changing it to Friday, was that it would interfere with students' travel plans. Well, my whole argument with that was, what senior is going to place travel plans on Memorial Day weekend over their graduation?
I think that was everybody's argument.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying, of course, we'd be planning for graduation. Like, who's even thinking about Memorial Day weekends on the day of their graduation? So that's probably when everybody was going to come out, all of their families. The party was probably going to be at their house this year. And apparently at least the students feel that the faculty had Memorial Day on their minds and not the graduation. Yeah. And we don't know that, so that's something that we would like to know. That's an interesting point of view. It actually opens up just a lot of questions. So, because like Ted said earlier, the reason for changing the date was really never released outside of them saying the whole Memorial Day thing, and that was just always really sketchy. So we are that's a question that we've been having on our minds, but of course it'll never get answered, which is cool because it doesn't matter anymore because the date would change back. So
when we did the podcast with the provost, Ed Hugetts, he mentioned Memorial Day, he mentioned Mother's Day the previous weekend, he mentioned parking concerns.
He mentioned parking concerns?
Yeah, because of some concert. Overflow parking.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because of the rodeo.
Yeah, then that was for the night of the 22nd, which is the day that they had changed it to. Yeah. So it was going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, rush hour traffic.
Yeah.
On Friday.
And did I just say because of the rodeo?
Yeah.
The rodeo would be like over for 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. It was a concert.
It was a concert.
But still, I don't think that concert would cause that much traffic or that much. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was all of the reasons were kind of sketchy, but the main reason being Memorial Day, and like we said, most students believe that it was because teachers wanted that break off, but we'll never know that. So,
well, and the schools pointed out that they had no financial or legal obligation There was no restrictions on them changing the date back. They had to rent the stadium for 2 days anyway. So it didn't make sense for them not to change it back with that much pressure.
Why did they have to rent it for 2 days?
For setup and tear down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that wouldn't it have cost more because they were talking about having a split graduation.
Yes.
So would they have had to rent the facilities longer to set up for?
They were talking about having one ceremony at Minute Maid and one ceremony at U of H Stadium.
Mm-hmm. Would they have had to pay for U of H Stadium?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
What happened to being a sister school?
Yeah.
Sucks.
But speaking on behalf of the class of 2015, we are very happy that the administration changed it back, even though we don't know the exact reasoning behind it. But we are very happy because our families will be able to attend. So we appreciate that. What happened over spring break, Joshua?
So I hope everyone had a good spring break. First of all, we all know that spring break is a time really to review. I don't know anybody who breaks. Fortunately, me and Ted got to break this spring break, and we went to Mexico. Trip started out
Tried to go to Brazil.
Trip started out to Brazil, and we found out at the airport that you need a visa to go to Brazil. And I was mad about that because I asked Google on my phone while we were at the airport if you needed a visa to go to Brazil, and she said yes. So it was that easy for me to find out, and we waited until we were literally at the airport checking in, and it was just like, whoa, you're not going to Brazil.
Yeah.
So we went to Mexico. And Mexico was pretty awesome. Ted fell off a scooter. He stepped on a sea urchin, right?
Sea urchin.
Yes. And I got pricked in the finger by a sea urchin, so I wasn't totally unharmed here. Let's not feel sorry for him all the way. But he does have a cast on his arm, and he had to have surgery.
Yeah.
So
I've got quite a souvenir.
Yeah. I didn't even need a Band-Aid, so I guess we should feel sorry for him. But it was cool. It was fun, but we're glad to be back.
Yeah.
Back to school and back to work.
It was a beautiful vacation, very educational, cultural, excellent food. Got to see Mayan ruins. It was a really fantastic trip. And we hope those of you that did have a chance to travel had a safe trip and didn't sustain any injuries like myself.
Yes. And speaking of traveling, this is probably the worst segue, but we're the Germanwings air crash. I know, it's the worst segue in the world. Okay, so the Germanwings air crash just happened, and we were talking about it earlier. And this is kind of crazy because in the past maybe year or so, we've heard about a couple of major airplane crashes that have been going on in aviation. And it's I don't know. For me, it seems out of the norm. I don't know. I'm sure that there are crashes on record all the time, but it just seems very in our faces now. But this one,
actually, 2010 was the deadliest year for air travel, but this year, you're right. It's many of the crashes are mysterious.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. Obviously, there's still no answer for MH370. We had another plane shot down.
Did they find any? Didn't they find pieces of MH370?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Like oh, okay.
Nothing. They're still searching.
Some Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then the plane crash that just recently happened.
Yes. Germanwings flight 9525 from Barcelona to Dusseldorf.
Crashed in the Alps.
Yeah.
The pilot was only 28, and they believed the co-pilot was 28, and they believe that he purposely crashed the plane. They don't have just solid proof of this, but it's a lot of strong circumstantial evidence.
They don't have the flight data recorder, which records all the inputs that the pilots do in the instruments.
Right.
It records airspeed, directional changes, stuff like that. But they do have the cockpit voice recorder.
So if they don't have that, how do they know that he changed the altitude of the plane to 96 feet?
This website called FlightAware shows that information. It tracks flights, and it shows that the autopilot was changed.
Okay.
Because they could see the plane descending at a certain rate. So they know that either the autopilot was switched off or changed.
So, well, either way it happened, this of course opens a lot of like crazy doors, because people are going to be concerned about who's flying for them when they fly across the skies now, and it's a thin line, because it's believed that he had mental issues or mental problems, or that he was being treated for mental illness.
Even when he was in training, he took a break from his training for about a year,
right,
which is unexplained to this point. And today it was reported that police found ripped up doctor's notes in his trash that ordered him not to fly from his doctor.
Right. But that's where I feel like that's where the thin line is, because that gets into like privacy with people. Even though it's different, because this guy is flying people, in the sky, and has all of these lives in his hands. But a lot of people don't want to just disclose about their medical conditions or their medical issues. That's why I feel like it's such a thin line when it comes to this, because people are going to be worried about this now. This will become a concern for people.
And this is not the first time it's happened. It happened on an Egypt Air.
Oh yeah, I remember that
flight,
like 92, right?
And another flight, I believe it was an Alaskan Airlines flight, where pilots intentionally put the plane into a steep dive and crashed. What was unique about this flight was it was 8 minutes of gradual descent,
Right.
where he deliberately locked the captain out of the cockpit. And on the voice recorder, they captured banging on the door, the captain trying to break the door down, which is an armored door, basically.
But see, there are questions about that too, because I'm sorry, but I am with the majority, or at least I feel like it should be the majority. I would want someone staying in the cockpit with, I don't think they should be left alone.
I don't either.
Has anyone seen Flight? Y'all seen Flight? Seen Flight?
Yes.
You know how like coked up and like alcoholic he was when he was on that show. Like, you don't know if like that.
Well,
that might not be real.
But I worked for United for 5 years, and my wife still works there, and I know of several pilots who are attending rehab or just getting out of rehab, and they're cleared to fly soon afterwards.
And see, that's where that thin line comes in. Yeah. Like I said, what if it's just been a bad day? It's a little gloomy outside, and you're not it's
really scary.
Tough.
I mean, it's one thing to kill yourself, but to take 150 innocent people with you,
that's something. I think that's something that I don't understand, but so I can't talk on it, because I think that's a really deep type of subject right there, and if it was depression, like that would be, that sucks. But it is like, that's an issue. Like I'm telling you, people are going to be very concerned about that now when they fly. Like they're gonna want to know these things. I wonder, would it make people who travel a lot make themselves more informed or research more about their travel plans? But is that something that you'd be able to research? Like the pilot at all?
No. You can, as of right now, you can always find out what aircraft type you're on.
All right.
You can get some information as to how old the aircraft is, the maintenance record of the aircraft, if you dig deep enough, but nothing about the pilot.
So I can find out if he's been flying for 2 days.
No. And this pilot,
years.
as was mentioned, didn't have much flying experience, this co-pilot who crashed the plane.
Well, they said he had something like 6,000 hours.
No, 600.
Oh, 600.
And it was about 100 hours in this model of plane. So he was relatively inexperienced.
See, I'd want to know this.
Yeah.
I would want to know this when I'm flying. you haven't been flying long. Let me change my flight to the person who can land a plane on the Hudson.
Yeah.
Let me do that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to fly with him, fly with that person, and that's I think people I would want to know that, but you can't research that, so that's
no.
Like I think it would be okay if you would at least be able to know how long they were flying.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
And what working for United showed me that this industry really lends itself to a partying atmosphere, like the movie Flight portrays.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have these short turnarounds.
Yeah, and you're flying all over the world, and it's
Yeah.
just like a...
You know, the crew gets off of a plane in Mexico for a night.
And then you've been flying, so you're tired because you've been working.
Yeah.
What do people do after they work?
Yeah.
If you're like me, you drink.
Yeah.
So,
well, the
the
FAA does mandate that they get a certain amount of sleep, but
that doesn't mean
of
they're going
course
to do it.
they're not going to. Yeah. There's no way to monitor that. So I think it will have a big impact on the trust of the flying public at large. Last thing we wanted to touch on was the Locke administration. As SGA elections are approaching next week, the current SGA president, John Locke, is trying to run for a second term.
I feel like that's a short turnaround because isn't voting next week also?
Yes. We don't even know who his opponent is yet.
Does he have one?
I'm sure he will.
I wonder, will it be someone in his administration? Does
Yeah.
Does he know if anyone is running? Or I wonder. That's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
I wonder if he knows that.
We'll have him on early next week.
It would be interesting if we could do a debate for them.
Yeah.
Hint,
Yeah,
hint,
we'd love to
whoever's
do a
listening.
debate for SGA
That would be nice.
president. Dateline would love to host that.
That would be nice. So they have to get 200 signatures.
200 signatures for
date.
president.
Right, and then we vote for them. Do you know when the date is for voting? How many students know that? Do you know that? You know no? I don't know the date either.
No.
I wonder, is that something we should know?
Probably.
Yeah. It's supposed to be next week though. That's why I know the voting. Actually, no, wait, I do know it. I saw the email. The voting day is April 3rd, I think.
Which is next Wednesday.
Which is next Wednesday is the first Friday. Yeah, it would be that Friday. No one is even on campus. No. That's fishy.
But it's all voting online.
Oh, it is?
Online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say, that smells like a whole bunch of bad stuff right there. If it was on a Friday, like no one's on campus on Friday. They barely even run the buses on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on campus.
We're on campus, but I mean, we're working.
Well, the Locke administration has accomplished a lot. We've seen the precariously housed scholarship go up. We've seen a lot more interaction between the administration and the students.
Yes, that's true. And then, the Locke administration has also, which I like, they've done a lot for the homeless.
Yes.
Which it just seems very, that seems like something you'd hear, honestly, like in, 1700 politics, people helping out the homeless in America. But they've done a lot with the homeless. They work a lot at the Beacon, the homeless shelter downtown. Well, it's a day shelter.
Foods Not Bombs is something that Locke does regularly.
Yeah, so they do that a lot, which I really appreciate that because it shows that students can step outside of the university and contribute to the community. So that's a good thing.
Yep. And one of the highlights of the administration was obviously this graduation date. The Locke administration was very influential in helping us out with that.
Well, I think they were a great mediator. I think he was a great mediator and a good liaison between the school, the administration,
and us,
and then the students, which is good because he was kind of on the outside while being on the inside because he wasn't he's not a senior yet, so he has he had no invested interest in making sure the date changed, but he wanted the students to be happy, which is of course what he has invested interest in. And he participated and mediated, I believe, him, Tara Taylor, his entire administration. So they did a good job on that. And then they also had Walk to Vote last year, which is a huge success.
Huge success.
Yeah.
So overall, they've worked very hard to get food options changed on campus, which haven't materialized yet, but I know are in the works.
Right.
To get healthy options on campus, lower price food. We do have a food pantry open now because of his administration.
Right.
So those are some very big accomplishments.
And yet that's great. Those are all good things.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, we don't know if he has an opponent yet. And
Yeah.
I would really love to see one because, just because we need healthy debate, because this is what, this is what we do. This is our democracy. So we need him to have an opponent. I think that's important. Even if he wins again, I like his administration, but I think that there should be someone with different ideas, becoming, having more innovative ideas or thinking in different ways, because that's how we all help each other out. So I would like to see that. So I think that would be really cool. And if that happens, it would be great. Like we said, see a debate also.
Yeah.
Which the students should participate in.
Yes, we could even set it up so we allow students to call in or
like
message us, and we can ask your questions to the candidates directly.
Yeah, like live streaming or anything like that. Like that would be really nice. So I hope to see, like, next week. I hope to see an opponent.
Yeah.
Actually, hopefully Monday, because if the voting is on Friday, like I feel like they should extend that.
Yeah, I do too.
That's
just a short window.
That's a quick turnaround, because they're doing the signatures now, and so they have to have them by, I guess, Monday, and that's when you actually find out who the candidates are, and then you only have until Friday, because as far as us knowing who they are, some of us will only know their names. Like you're not gonna know them personally or what they're about. That's what an election is about. You got to get to know the person. And
these elections can get heated. I've seen them get ugly. I've seen them get very down and dirty politics.
Well, hopefully that won't happen again.
Yeah.
Hopefully that won't happen again. If it does, I hope it's clean, dirty politics.
Yes.
Not like nasty, dirty politics. Because dirty isn't always bad. So.
But we definitely want to encourage all students to vote. This is an important facet of student life.
Right. And then also to campaign, because any student can campaign, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, anybody can throw your name in there. You got some good ideas and you think you can make it happen, go for it.
Yeah. Run for office.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Maybe you'll be profiled in Dateline as the next president of SGA. That would be cool.
Yes.
So.
Please send us any comments or questions you have to dateline.editor@yahoo.com, or give us a call at 713-891-8222. We look forward to hearing from you.
Adios, guys. Good weekends.
Go Gators.